You can do this job two ways. You can deal with an iron fist and have everyone dreading the minute you show up on their doorstep. Or you can be collaborative and work with your managers, your owner-operators, to get better results. I gotta say, as a health inspector, I'm all about getting the best results possible, so I prefer the second method.
I cover a lot of different operations, all over the county. Hospitals, school cafeterias, big chains, mom and pop restaurants, fine dining, you name it. I even have an amusement park.
Anyway, I have managed to build good working relationships with all those operations. In fact, over the last 6 years I've been on the job, I have not had a single closure or a foodborne illness outbreak on my watch. I'm proud of that, but I didn't do it alone. And I'm proud of that too. The bottom line is, we all have to work together to keep customers safe and serve safe food. Okay, time to go to work.
It all starts with sanitary facilities and equipment. That's basic. That's fundamental. Without sanitary facilities and equipment, you're undermining all your other food safety practices. Besides that, keeping your establishment clean and sanitary will help prevent food from becoming contaminated. It also helps prevent another potential source of contamination from thriving in your establishment: pests. Accomplishing this and doing it right takes a lot of thought and planning. So here's what you need to know. You have to know exactly what's meant by the term sanitary equipment and facilities. Then you have to fully understand the process of cleaning and sanitizing. And you have to know about integrated pest management. A well-designed facility has been planned out so that both the building and all the equipment can be kept clean and in good repair. This makes it easier to keep food safe. Generally speaking, if a kitchen has been efficiently designed, you'll have a more sanitary facility.
And a well-designed kitchen will also address lots of factors, including personal hygiene, workflow, contamination, and equipment accessibility.
You should design your workflow plan with two key points in mind. First, you have to minimize the amount of time food spends in the temperature danger zone. Your storage areas, for example, should be located near the receiving areas to prevent time and temperature abuse caused by delays in storing food. And your prep tables should be located near refrigerators and freezers for the same reason. The second point that your workflow plan must take into account is minimizing the risk of cross-contamination. Never set up your prep areas in a way that would allow dirty equipment to touch clean equipment or food. A well-planned layout also ensures equipment is easily accessible for cleaning. That means that you make sure your equipment has been set up so it's easy to disassemble and clean around. Now, when you're talking about sanitary equipment at facilities, there's several considerations to keep in mind. Here's what they are. First, you start off with the plan review. Then, you have to think about the materials for interior flooring. You'll have to know the guidelines for hand washing stations and sanitation standards for equipment surfaces. You've also got guidelines to follow on dishwashing machines and the installation and maintenance of kitchen equipment, plus water supply and plumbing considerations, lighting, ventilation, and last but not least, garbage disposal. A plan review is usually required anytime you have new construction or extensive remodeling. The next thing you need to know regarding your facility is which materials are appropriate for use inside your operation. Your most important consideration here is how easy the establishment will be to clean and maintain. It's especially important to choose the right kind of flooring materials.
The flooring should be made of a smooth, non-absorbent material that is durable and easy to clean. And this flooring should be used in food prep and storage areas, dishwashing areas, walk-in coolers, dressing and locker rooms, and restrooms.
Your plan should include coving. Coving is a curved, sealed edge placed between the floor and the wall to eliminate sharp corners or gaps that would be impossible to clean.
The materials for your facility's walls, ceilings, and doors must be smooth, non-absorbent, durable, and easy to clean. You should choose light colors for walls and ceilings, and make sure walls can withstand repeated washing.
Hand washing plays a very important role in food safety. That's why your plans should include lots of hand washing stations that are conveniently located, so employees will be encouraged to wash their hands often. Hand washing stations are required in restrooms and need to be located in food preparation, service, and dishwashing areas. Here's what a properly equipped hand washing station needs to have: hot and cold running water, and the temperature of the water must be at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 Celsius. Soap. Liquid soap is generally preferred because it's easy to use and refill. There should also be something to dry hands. Most local codes require establishments to supply disposable paper towels in hand washing stations. You may want to consider installing a warm air dryer to provide an alternate method for drying hands if paper towels run out. But common cloth towels are not permitted because they can transmit contaminants from one person's hands to another. Hand washing stations should also have a waste container if disposable paper towels are provided. You should also post signs that say that employees are required to wash hands before returning to work. When you're buying equipment for your place, make sure it's been designed with sanitation in mind. All equipment with food contact surfaces must be safe, durable, corrosion resistant, non-absorbent, sufficient in weight and thickness to withstand repeated cleaning, and smooth and easy to clean. They also have to be resistant to pitting, chipping, decomposition, scratching, scoring, distortion, and crazing. You know, those fine spider cracks. And any equipment that's exposed to splashing, spillage, or other food soiling needs to be constructed of smooth, non-absorbent, corrosion-resistant material. And the same goes for any surface that would require frequent cleaning. The surface of the equipment should be free of unnecessary ledges, projections, and crevices. It should also be designed and constructed to allow easy cleaning and maintenance. Organizations like NSF International and Underwriters Laboratories have helped simplify the task of choosing equipment designed for sanitation. All you have to do is look for the NSF International mark or the UL Environmental and Public Health Product mark on food service equipment. When you see either of those symbols, it means that the equipment has met sanitary standards and is acceptable for food service use. Now, when you're selecting and installing dishwashing machines, you should follow these guidelines. The machine must be raised at least 6 inches, or 15 centimeters, off the floor, so you can clean underneath them easily.
Key information about using the machine should be posted on the dishwasher. This information includes proper water temperature, conveyor speed, and water pressure.
Your kitchen equipment should be installed so that both the equipment and the areas surrounding it are easy to clean. Everything should also be serviced regularly to keep it in good working order. Your stationary equipment has to be mounted on legs at least 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the floor. Or you could also seal it to a masonry base. Stationary tabletop equipment should be mounted on legs that provide a minimum clearance of 4 inches, or 10 centimeters, between the base of the equipment and the tabletop.
Otherwise, the equipment should be sealed to the tabletop, and any gaps between equipment and surrounding countertops and walls must also be sealed.
You also have to make sure you're using safe water for cooking, cleaning, and hand washing. Water that's safe to drink is called potable water.
Sources of potable water include approved public water mains and private water sources, such as a well, that are regularly maintained and tested. Other sources include closed portable water containers and water transport vehicles. If your operation uses a well, you should check with your local regulatory authority for information on inspections, testing, and other requirements. Generally, wells must be tested at least once a year, and the test reports kept on file. Now, the greatest challenge to water safety is a matter of plumbing, particularly cross connections and backflow. A cross connection is a physical link through which contaminants from drains, sewers, or other wastewater sources can enter the water supply. A running faucet located below the flood rim of a sink or a running hose in a mop bucket are examples of cross connections. A cross connection is dangerous because it allows the possibility of backflow, which is the unwanted reverse flow of contaminants into a potable water system. Backflow can occur whenever the pressure in the potable water supply drops below the pressure of the contaminated supply. There are several methods to prevent backflow. For example, you can install vacuum breakers on faucets. But the only completely reliable method for preventing backflow is to create an air gap. This is an airspace that separates a water supply outlet from any potentially contaminated source. A properly designed and installed sink typically has two air gaps to prevent backflow. One is the airspace between the faucet and the flood rim of the sink. The other is located between the drain pipe of the sink and the floor drain of the establishment. Now, grease traps are often installed to prevent a grease buildup from creating a drain blockage. These traps should be regularly maintained to allow for proper functioning. Because the plumbing on grease traps can also pose a contamination risk, make sure that only licensed plumbers install and maintain those pipes. Another possible plumbing problem, and a dangerous one, can be caused by sewage. Sewage and wastewater are contaminated with pathogens, soils, and chemicals, and it's absolutely essential to prevent them from contaminating food or food contact surfaces. If raw sewage backs up in your operation, close the affected area right away. Then fix the problem and thoroughly clean the area. Sewage is obviously a source of contamination, but a lot of people are surprised to learn that lighting fixtures also pose contamination risks. That's because shattered light bulbs can contaminate food and food contact surfaces. To prevent that kind of contamination, you should use shatter-resistant light bulbs, or put protective covers made of metal mesh or plastic over your fixtures. Here's something you may not know. There are requirements that specify the minimum level of light necessary in each area of your operation. Lighting requirements are usually measured in units called foot candles, or lux. Prep areas require the most light. Here, lighting must be at least 50 foot candles, 540 lux. You'll need at least 20 foot candles, 215 lux of light, in hand washing and dishwashing areas, buffets, salad bars, and displays for produce or packaged food, in wait stations and utensil storage areas, in restrooms, and inside some equipment, such as reach-in coolers. Finally, you'll need at least 10 foot candles, 108 lux of light, inside walk-in coolers and freezers, dry storage areas, and dining rooms. You also have to look at some of the other equipment in your kitchen, like your ventilation. Your ventilation hoods, fans, guards, and ductwork shouldn't ever drip onto food or equipment. Your hood filters or grease extractors have to be tight-fitting and easy to remove, and they should be cleaned on a regular basis. The last thing to look at for a sanitary facility is the procedures and equipment you've put into place to handle garbage. Garbage attracts pests, and it can contaminate food, equipment, and utensils.
You have to prevent odors, pests, and possible contamination. So you've got to remove garbage from food preparation areas as quickly as possible.
Make sure that garbage containers are leak-proof, waterproof, and pest-proof, and line them with either plastic bags or wet-strength paper bags. All outdoor garbage containers should be placed on a smooth, non-absorbent surface. They should have tight-fitting lids and should be kept covered at all times. And make sure you keep the drain plugs in place.
Another thing, garbage containers should be easy to clean, and they should be cleaned frequently. This has to be done and done thoroughly, and that means cleaning it both inside and out. This should never be done near areas used for food preparation or storage. Okay, that covers sanitary equipment and facilities. Now I want to talk about cleaning and sanitizing.
I want to stop here at Whistling River Amusement Park because, in my book, their food safety practices are second to none.
Alan Schumer is a guy who knows a lot about good cleaning and sanitizing practices. To get a handle on cleaning and sanitizing, you have to know the difference between cleaning and sanitizing, the properties and uses of cleaning agents, the different methods of sanitizing, and the different types of dishwashing machines and their proper operation. You'll also have to know how to clean and sanitize equipment using a 3-compartment sink. Then there's the proper storage of utensils, tableware, and equipment, the proper storage of cleaning tools and supplies, and the proper use and storage of hazardous materials. Cleaning is the process of removing food and other types of soil from a surface, such as a prep table or plate, while sanitizing is the process of reducing the number of pathogens on a clean surface to safe levels.
Effective cleaning and sanitizing is a 2-step process. Surfaces have got to first be cleaned and rinsed before being sanitized.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everything in the operation has got to be kept clean. But any surface that comes in contact with food, such as knives, utensils, and cutting boards, has to be cleaned and sanitized.
So all food contact surfaces must be washed, then rinsed, and then sanitized. And you have to do it after each use. Anytime you begin working with another type of food, anytime you're interrupted during a task and the tools or items you've been working with may have been contaminated, and at 4-hour intervals if items are constantly used. These aren't options or something that should be done most of the time. These are practices that should be followed all of the time.
Cleaning agents are chemical compounds that remove food, soil, rust, stains, minerals, and other deposits.
Since cleaning agents all have different properties, you should ask your supplier to help you select the ones that will meet your needs. There are different types of cleaners, and they've got specific uses.
There are general-purpose detergents, which remove fresh dirt from floors, walls, ceilings, prep surfaces, and most equipment and utensils. Heavy-duty detergents, on the other hand, remove wax, aged or dried dirt, and baked-on grease. Dishwasher detergents are an example. Then there are solvent cleaners, which are often called degreasers, and these are alkaline detergents containing a grease-dissolving agent. They work well in areas where grease is burned on and are usually only effective at full strength. Acid cleaners, which are also called delimers, are used on mineral deposits and other soils that alkaline cleaners can't remove. Acid cleaners vary in type and strength and are often used to remove scale in dishwashing machines and steam tables. Abrasive cleaners contain a scouring agent that helps scrub out hard-to-remove soil. If you've got pots and pans with baked-on food, this is what's often used to remove it. Remember to use abrasive cleaners carefully because they can scratch surfaces.
There's two methods used to sanitize surfaces: heat sanitizing and chemical sanitizing. One way to heat sanitize tableware, utensils, or equipment is to immerse them in hot water. To be effective, the water must be at least 171 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 Celsius, and the items have to be immersed for 30 seconds.
When you're heat sanitizing by immersion, you should use a thermometer to check water temperature. It might also be necessary to install a heating device to maintain this temperature.
The other heat sanitizing method is the high-temperature dishwashing machine. This uses hot water to sanitize tableware, utensils, and other items. To check the water temperature in these machines, attach temperature-sensitive labels or tape, or a high-temperature probe to items that will be run through the machine. Now, the other way to sanitize uses chemicals. The three most common types of chemical sanitizers are chlorine, iodine, and quaternary ammonium compounds, or quats. Chemical sanitizers are regulated by state and federal environmental protection agencies. And a list of approved sanitizers is available from the federal government. Work with your chemical supplier to choose the right sanitizers for your place.
Detergent sanitizer blends can sometimes be used to sanitize items. If you use a detergent sanitizer blend, use it once to clean and a second time to sanitize.
Tableware, utensils, and equipment can be chemically sanitized by immersing them in a specific concentration of sanitizing solution for a specific amount of time. You can also rinse, swab, or spray them with the appropriate sanitizing solution. Chemical sanitizers are mixed with water until the right concentration, the proper ratio of sanitizer to water, is reached. The right concentration is critical, because concentration below those required in your jurisdiction or recommended by the manufacturer could fail to sanitize objects. On the other hand, if the concentration is higher than recommended, they can be unsafe. When that happens, they can leave an odor or bad taste, and could even corrode metals. You should always measure the concentration using a sanitizer test kit, which registers the strength of the concentration in parts per million, or ppm. But make sure the test kit is designed for the sanitizer you're using. If you don't have the right test kit, they're usually available from the manufacturer or your chemical supplier. One last thing about the concentration of a sanitizing solution. You have to check it frequently, since the sanitizer loses its strength during use. Temperature is another factor that can influence the effectiveness of chemical sanitizers, so make sure you follow the manufacturer's recommendations for the proper temperature. Contact time is also important. For a sanitizing solution to kill pathogens, it has to make contact with the object for a specific amount of time. Manufacturer's recommendations should provide you with all the information you need. The pH and hardness of your water can also affect how well a sanitizer works. You can get this information from your municipality. Then you should work with your supplier to identify the right amount of sanitizer to use for your water.
Okay, now let's talk about the different types of dishwashing machines and how they work. High-temperature machines rely on hot water to clean and sanitize, so the water temperature is critical.
If it's not hot enough, items won't be properly sanitized. If it's too hot, it could vaporize before tableware and utensils have been sanitized. And there's also the possibility that extremely hot water could bake food onto an item.
The dishwasher must be equipped with a built-in thermometer that measures water temperature at the manifold, the point where the water sprays into the tank. The temperature of the final sanitizing rinse must be at least 180 degrees Fahrenheit, 82 Celsius, to be effective. For stationary rack single-temperature machines, the sanitizing rinse must be at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 Celsius.
Operations that clean and sanitize a lot of tableware may need to install a heating device. This device will make sure the machines have enough hot water.
The second type of dishwashing machines are chemical sanitizing machines. These can clean and sanitize items at much lower temperatures. Since different sanitizers require different rinse water temperatures, it's important to follow the dishwashing temperature guidelines provided by the manufacturer. All dishwashing machines should be operated according to the recommendations provided by the manufacturer.
But no matter what type of machine you use, there are general procedures you should follow when cleaning and sanitizing tableware, utensils, and related items.
That means you have to check the machine for cleanliness at least once a day, and clean it whenever it's needed. You need to clear detergent trays and spray nozzles of food and foreign objects. And you should remove mineral deposits caused by hard water using an acid cleaner on the machine whenever it's necessary. Make sure the detergent and sanitizer dispensers are properly filled. Before you send the soiled items through, you need to scrape, rinse, or soak items before washing, and pre-soak items with dried-on food. The dish racks need to be loaded correctly. That means making sure all surfaces are exposed to the spray action, using racks designed for the items being washed, and not overloading racks. You also need to check water temperatures and pressure following the manufacturer's recommendations. As each rack comes out of the machine, check it for soiled items. Once all the items are cleaned and sanitized, you have to let everything air dry. Now, don't use towels because they can recontaminate items you just cleaned.
Finally, keep the dishwashing machine in good repair using the basic maintenance measures I talked about and any service agreement that you have with the manufacturer.
You can also wash items using a 3-compartment sink. A properly set up station for a 3-compartment sink includes an area for rinsing away food or for scraping food into garbage containers, drain boards to hold both soiled and cleaned items, a thermometer to measure water temperature, chemical test strips to check sanitizer concentration, and a clock with a second hand that allows employees to time how long items have been immersed in the sanitizing sink. Before cleaning and sanitizing items in a 3-compartment sink, each sink and all work surfaces have to be cleaned and sanitized. There's 5 steps for cleaning and sanitizing tableware, utensils, and equipment in a 3-compartment sink. Step 1. Rinse, scrape, or soak all items before washing. Step 2. Wash items in the first sink in a detergent solution that's at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 Celsius. You should use a brush, cloth, or nylon scrub pad to loosen the remaining soil. And make sure you replace the detergent solution when the suds are gone or the water is dirty. Step 3. Immerse or spray rinse items in the second sink. You have to remove all traces of food and detergent. And if you're using the immersion method, replace the rinse water when it becomes cloudy or dirty. Step 4. Sanitize the rinsed items in the third sink by immersing them in a chemical sanitizing solution. Alternately, you can immerse them in hot water that's at least 171 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 Celsius, for 30 seconds. Step 5. Air dry all items. Don't use a towel.
Once utensils, tableware, and equipment are clean, sanitized, and dry, store them so they stay that way. That means storing tableware and utensils at least 6 inches, 15 centimeters, off the floor. Keeping everything covered or otherwise protected from dirt and condensation, and cleaning drawers and shelves before clean items are stored. You also have to clean trays and carts used to carry clean tableware and utensils. Make sure that this is done on a daily basis or more often if necessary.
When it comes to cleaning the operation, there are several things to keep in mind. Non-food contact surfaces, such as floors, ceilings, equipment exteriors, restrooms, and walls, must be cleaned regularly. This will keep dust and dirt, food residue, and other debris from building up.
To do these jobs, your staff will need the right tools. But if you're not careful, the tools themselves can contaminate surfaces. You can avoid this by replacing any cleaning tools that are worn and by cleaning the tools before putting them away. Assigning tools for specific tasks will also help. For example, you can use one set of tools for cleaning food contact surfaces and another for non-food contact surfaces. And here's a hint. Using color-coded tools can help keep them separate. You have to be just as careful when it comes to cleaning towels. Never use towels meant for food spills for any other purpose, and store them in a sanitizer solution between uses. Always keep towels that come in contact with raw meat, fish, or poultry separate from other cleaning towels. All your cleaning tools and chemicals have to be placed in a storage area away from food and food preparation sites to avoid contamination. That storage area should have things like hooks for hanging cleaning tools to dry, a floor drain for dumping dirty water, and a utility sink for filling buckets and washing cleaning tools. Oh, and by the way, never clean tools anywhere but in that utility sink. Some of the cleaning solutions you'll use have to be considered hazardous materials. And by definition, hazardous materials always pose some risk of chemical contamination. You should reduce your risk by working with your chemical suppliers and purchase only those chemicals that are approved